What happens to your wife after divorce will shock you, and most men have no idea. Behind closed doors, the life she once shared with you is unraveling in ways you would never imagine. There are moments of heartbreak she hides, tears she swallows, and nights spent wondering if love will ever feel safe again. But it's not just sadness. She's discovering strength you never gave her credit for, learning lessons that might make her unrecognizable to you. And somewhere in the silence, there's a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about her and about yourself. Watch closely, because what you'll see will surprise you, maybe even haunt you. Comment below where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more life-changing insights. You might think that divorce is just a change in paperwork, a rearrangement of schedules, or a shift in who lives where, but the truth is far deeper. For a woman, divorce is often like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into a void that she never imagined she would face. The emotional storm that follows isn't something that happens overnight. It builds quietly, gathering strength, and then suddenly hits in waves she cannot control. There's grief she tries to hide, tears that fall in silence, and memories that feel like both a comfort and a curse. Every corner of her life seems to echo with what was lost, what was broken, and what she fears she may never reclaim. In those first weeks after separation, even the strongest woman can feel unmoored. The routines that once gave her life a sense of normalcy are gone. Simple things: a cup of coffee in the morning, a shared laugh over breakfast, the sound of someone calling her name, suddenly feel absent, and the absence is deafening. And yet, while grief dominates her days, it is accompanied by another force, a sharp awareness of self. In the emptiness, she begins to confront parts of herself she ignored for years, pieces of her identity that had been overshadowed by the marriage, by roles, by expectations. This is not always comfortable, but it is transformative. Pain becomes a mirror, reflecting both vulnerability and strength. Anger is another companion she must face. It often arrives without warning, an unexpected memory, a song on the radio, a comment from someone who doesn't know. Anger is raw, unfiltered, and sometimes frightening. She may feel resentful at the world, at her ex, or even at herself, but beneath that anger lies a critical truth. The anger is a signal, a form of emotional energy that, if understood, can fuel her growth. It is the mind's way of saying, "I refuse to be broken by this," and in understanding that, she begins to reclaim power that was never really lost. It was simply dormant. Isolation also becomes part of her journey. Friends may not fully understand what she is experiencing. Family might offer advice, but it can feel like interference rather than support. And there is an internal voice that questions her worth, her choices, even her ability to love again. She battles with self-doubt, wondering if she could have done something differently, if she could have been enough. This mental battle can be brutal, but it is precisely here, in these quiet moments of introspection, that she starts to redefine her identity. She learns to find solace not in another person's approval, but in her own recognition of strength, courage, and resilience. Yet, even amid the pain, there are subtle moments of awakening. She begins to notice the small victories. The ability to make decisions independently, the confidence to stand alone, the clarity that comes from being unbound by compromise or fear. She starts to understand that her life is no longer defined by the narrative she shared with someone else. Instead, she is free to write her own story. And freedom, while exhilarating, is also terrifying. It demands responsibility, courage, and the willingness to face herself fully, without pretense or safety nets. There is also a philosophical layer to this journey that cannot be ignored. Divorce forces her to confront the impermanence of relationships, the fragility of trust, and the necessity of self-reliance. It challenges the illusions we build around love, attachment, and dependence. She may realize, often painfully, that love alone is not always enough, that people grow apart, and that personal growth sometimes comes from loss rather than gain. And in accepting this truth, she gains a perspective that many never experience, a clarity that is both sobering and empowering. She understands that her emotional well-being is ultimately her responsibility, and that she is capable of rebuilding, even after profound disruption. It is here, in this crucible of emotion, that transformation begins. The grief, the anger, the isolation, and the self-doubt do not simply vanish. They are refined into resilience, wisdom, and self-respect. She emerges with a stronger sense of who she is, what she values, and what she will no longer tolerate. She may still feel sadness, but it is accompanied by insight. She may still feel longing, but it is tempered by clarity. Every tear, every sleepless night, every pang of regret becomes part of the architecture of a stronger self. And in this way, the emotional storm that once threatened to consume her becomes a forge for her rebirth. By the time she reaches this stage, she may surprise even herself. She discovers that the woman who once depended on others for validation is now capable of standing tall, unshaken by opinions or expectations. She recognizes that while divorce may have ended one chapter, it did not diminish her worth or her capacity for joy. On the contrary, it has revealed depths of strength, courage, and insight that were always within her, waiting for the moment when she would claim them. So, when you think about what happens to a woman after divorce, understand this. It is not merely loss. It is awakening. It is not simply heartbreak. It is transformation. The journey is messy, painful, and often misunderstood, but it is also profound, revealing, and ultimately liberating. She learns in ways that cannot be taught or borrowed that life does not end when a marriage does. It evolves. And in that evolution, she becomes someone who is no longer defined by what she has lost, but by what she has gained. Wisdom, self-respect, and an unshakable sense of her own power. Reflect on this. The emotional journey she endures is not just about surviving. It is about discovering the strength she always had. And when you see it, you will understand that what seems like an ending is often the beginning of a life more vivid, courageous, and authentic than anything that came before. After the emotional storm begins to settle, reality hits with a weight that is impossible to ignore. Divorce isn't just a rupture of the heart. It's a disruption of daily life, routines, and the familiar architecture of existence. For many women, the home that once felt like a shared sanctuary becomes a space of memories, echoes, and reminders of what once was. Even the simplest tasks, paying bills, managing schedules, or deciding what to eat for dinner, can feel overwhelming when the structure that once supported her is gone. It's in this moment that she realizes independence is not just a concept. It's a necessity, and one she must learn to navigate quickly. Financial pressures often come to the forefront first. She may suddenly find herself responsible for expenses that were previously shared or managed by her partner. Rent, utilities, groceries, medical bills. These are no longer abstract numbers. They are daily decisions with consequences. For many women, this financial awakening can be a shock, forcing her to confront long-held assumptions about security and stability. It can feel unfair, even cruel, but it also becomes an unexpected teacher, revealing her capacity to manage, adapt, and thrive on her own. In this space of challenge, she discovers skills and resilience she never gave herself credit for. Alongside financial realities, there's the challenge of redefining daily routines and priorities. A woman who was once embedded in a partnership must now create a life that centers entirely around herself. How she spends her time, what she values, and the way she organizes her day are all under her own control. This newfound autonomy is liberating, but it can also be daunting. Choices that once seemed small. How to spend a weekend, whether to take a trip, how to arrange her home, now carry the weight of responsibility. And yet, in making these choices, she begins to understand something profound, that her life is hers to shape, and that freedom is as much about responsibility as it is about possibility. The philosophical dimension of these shifts cannot be ignored. Divorce forces a woman to confront the impermanence of circumstances, the fragility of reliance on others, and the necessity of self-sufficiency. She begins to understand that while relationships may provide comfort and companionship, they are not guarantees of stability. Life is unpredictable, and control over her own world is the only certainty she truly possesses. This awareness can be unsettling, but it is also liberating. She learns to embrace the uncertainty of life as a canvas for creativity, choice, and personal growth. Beyond the practical and philosophical changes, there's a deeper psychological transformation taking place. She must reconcile her past expectations with her present reality. Dreams that were shared with a partner, plans that were made as we rather than I, suddenly need redefinition. There is a sense of mourning for the life she imagined, for the routines she took for granted, and for the vision of stability that is no longer attainable. But within this mourning is also the potential for clarity. She begins to see herself not as half of a unit, but as a whole, capable and resilient individual. She confronts the truth that her life, her happiness, and her fulfillment are her responsibility. And that realization carries an unexpected sense of empowerment. Social dynamics also shift in profound ways. Friendships that were once casual or secondary may become critical lifelines, while certain relationships may fall away, unable to withstand the change. She may find herself gravitating toward people who support her independence, who encourage her growth, rather than those who cling to old norms or expect her to remain tethered to the past. In navigating this social recalibration, she hones discernment, learning to value relationships that are nourishing, authentic, and reciprocal. It is a subtle but powerful transformation. She no longer exists to meet others' expectations, but to honor her own integrity. Even her own self-perception changes. The woman who once defined herself through her role in a marriage begins to see her value through new lenses: competence, resilience, independence, and the ability to adapt. Every task she completes, every challenge she faces alone, reinforces her sense of self-reliance. She discovers that she can manage, endure, and even thrive in ways she never imagined. And this isn't just survival, it is reclamation. She is reclaiming her life, her purpose, and her autonomy, building a foundation that no external circumstance can easily shake. What is remarkable about this journey is that it doesn't erase the past, it transforms it. The experiences, memories, and even the pain of marriage and divorce are not discarded. They become the bedrock for her growth. She learns lessons about boundaries, about self-respect, and about the importance of aligning her life with her values. She discovers that independence is not a threat to love. It is the prerequisite for authentic connection. In this way, what might appear externally as struggle is internally a process of profound evolution. By the time she fully engages with this new reality, she has changed in ways both visible and invisible. Her routines may differ, her priorities may shift, and her daily life may look entirely different, but the most significant change is internal. A deepened sense of self, a sharpened awareness of what she wants, and a confidence that comes from knowing she can thrive independently. She understands that life's challenges, when faced with clarity and courage are just obstacles. They are opportunities for growth, empowerment, and transformation. So, when you consider what happens to a woman after divorce, don't just think about the practical aspects. Recognize the monumental inner shifts that accompany these external changes. Life after divorce is not simply about survival. It is about awakening to a new sense of self, embracing responsibility, and finding freedom within the challenges. And in witnessing this transformation, you are reminded of a simple but profound truth. Adversity does not diminish her. It reveals the depth of her strength. Divorce doesn't just change her life internally, it transforms the way she navigates the world around her. Social dynamics, relationships, and even casual interactions take on new meaning. Suddenly, the woman who once existed in a shared narrative must find her place in a world where her identity is fully her own. She notices the subtleties of human behavior in ways she never did before, becomes attuned to intentions, and begins to see who truly supports her and who merely occupies space in her life. This shift can feel isolating at first, but it is also a revelation. She learns that connection is not automatic. It must be chosen, nurtured, and reciprocated. Her interactions with family may become complicated. Parents, siblings, and extended relatives who once offered comfort might now unintentionally amplify her stress. Some may express disappointment or judgment. Others may offer advice that feels intrusive. Navigating these relationships requires emotional intelligence and patience. She learns the delicate balance between seeking support and establishing boundaries, discovering that protecting her emotional well-being is as essential as honoring family bonds. This balance is a skill she may not have needed before, but now becomes critical to maintaining stability and clarity in her life. Friendships also undergo transformation. She quickly realizes that not everyone who was present in her life will remain after divorce. Some friendships, once taken for granted, fade under the pressure of change. Others, however, strengthen, offering unexpected solidarity, wisdom, and encouragement. In the process, she becomes more discerning, valuing relationships that are authentic and mutually respectful. She learns to step away from toxic patterns, to prioritize emotional safety, and to embrace friendships that empower rather than drain her. It is a subtle yet profound education in human connection, teaching her to invest her energy where it truly matters. Romantic relationships, of course, are among the most affected. Trust, once shaken by the end of a marriage, does not return easily. She approaches intimacy with caution, aware of her vulnerability and the stakes of emotional investment. Some women retreat, hesitant to open their hearts again, while others enter new relationships with heightened clarity, knowing precisely what they will accept and what they will not. This discernment is a product of experience and reflection. It is not cynicism, it is wisdom. And in this wisdom lies empowerment, because she no longer seeks love merely to fill a void. She seeks connection that aligns with her values and honors her self-worth. Interestingly, divorce often brings a woman into closer contact with her authentic self in ways that few experiences can. Without the filter of a partner's expectations, she can explore her interests, passions, and desires without compromise. She may return to old hobbies, pursue new skills, or immerse herself in work and creativity. These endeavors are not just distractions. They are acts of self-affirmation, reminders that her life is hers to cultivate. And as she invests in herself, she attracts relationships and connections that resonate with her evolving identity, rather than conforming to what once was. There is also a psychological layer to how she perceives others. She becomes acutely aware of emotional manipulation, passive aggression, or dependency in those around her. This is not born of mistrust. It is born of experience. She understands the importance of surrounding herself with people whose intentions are transparent and whose loyalty is proven, and whose presence uplifts rather than undermines her. In essence, she begins to curate her social ecosystem with intention, choosing quality over quantity, depth over convenience. It is a profound act of self-respect and boundary setting that will guide her long after the divorce is finalized. This transformation is not limited to external relationships. Internally, she experiences shifts in self-perception and resilience that directly influence how she engages with others. Confidence grows as she navigates the challenges of independence and redefines her boundaries. Patience emerges as she learns to wait for people who honor her worth. Empathy deepens because she recognizes the complexities of human behavior and the vulnerabilities that accompany them. The social world, once taken for granted, becomes a landscape she actively shapes with awareness and discernment. Divorce also illuminates the impermanence of attachment and the fluidity of relationships. She witnesses firsthand that people may change, priorities may shift, and bonds may dissolve. Yet she also learns that meaningful connection is still possible, but only when it is grounded in authenticity, mutual respect, and shared values. She may surprise herself by developing deeper, more intentional relationships than she ever had before. Understanding that trust is not blind but earned, and that love is a partnership, not a default expectation. In this way, social and romantic dynamics become arenas for both growth and empowerment. As she moves forward, she may face moments of doubt or fear. Social isolation, lingering insecurities, or the pressure to conform to societal expectations can challenge her progress. But each time she navigates these moments, she strengthens her sense of self and refines her approach to relationships. She learns that the way she interacts with the world is a reflection of the inner work she has done. The emotional intelligence, resilience, and clarity she has cultivated. Her external relationships mirror her internal transformation, demonstrating that social dynamics are not merely circumstances. They are extensions of personal growth. By the end of this journey, she emerges with a remarkable awareness that divorce may have altered her social landscape, but it has also sharpened her ability to connect, discern, and thrive. She understands that relationships are tools for enrichment, not validation, and that her life is enriched not by the presence of others, but by the quality of those connections. The woman who once relied on external affirmation now draws strength from within, approaching the world with both caution and courage, wisdom and openness. She is no longer defined by her past marriage, but by the depth of insight she has gained in navigating life beyond it. So, when you consider what happens to a woman after divorce, understand this. Her relationships are not casualties. They are catalysts. Every interaction, every boundary, every reconnection is part of the reconstruction of her life. She emerges not just independent, but socially and emotionally evolved, capable of cultivating connections that are meaningful, balanced, and empowering. And when you witness this transformation, you are reminded of a profound truth. Divorce does not diminish her. It reveals her power, her discernment, and her capacity to engage with the world fully, consciously, and courageously.